Welcome to the Examine Room. The Examine Room is a new segment that I decided to put out. I know, you gotta start with these segments, bro. Never gonna stop. But this segment is actually to kind of dissect a lot of things, like albums, movies, TV shows, human behaviors, animal behaviors, and also what's currently happening in our society. And today I decided to start the first show with the Black Lives Matter movement. Here's an introduction of the Black Lives Matter movement from the website.
In 2013, three radical black organizers, Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi, created a black-centered political will and movement building project called #Black Lives Matter. It was in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murderer, George Zimmerman. The project is now a member-led global network of more than 40 chapters. Our members organize and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on black communities by the state and vigilantes. Black Lives Matter is an ideological and political intervention in a world where black lives are systematically and intentionally targeted for demise. It is an affirmation of black folks' humanity, our contributions to the society, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppression. As organizers who work with everyday people, BLM members see and understand significant gaps in movement spaces and leadership. Black liberation movements in this country have created room, space, and leadership mostly for black heterosexual cisgender men, leaving women, queer, and transgender people and others either out of the movement or in the background to move the work forward with little or no recognition. As a network, we have always recognized the need to center the leadership of women and queer and trans people, to maximize our movement muscle, and to be intentional about not replicating harmful practices that excluded so many in past movements for liberation. We've made a commitment to placing those at the margins closer to the center. As #Black Lives Matter developed throughout 2013 and 2014, we utilized it as a platform and organizing tool. Other groups, organizations, and individuals used it to amplify anti-black racism across the country in all the ways it showed up. Tamir Rice, Tanisha Anderson, Maya Hall, Walter Scott, Sandra Bland. These names are inherently important. The space that #Black Lives Matter held and continues to hold helped propel the conversation around the state-sanctioned violence they experienced. We particularly highlighted the egregious ways in which black women, specifically black trans women, are violated. #Black Lives Matter was developed in support of all black lives. In 2014, Mike Brown was murdered by Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson. It was a guttural response to be with our people, our family, in support of the brave and courageous community of Ferguson and St. Louis as they were being brutalized by law enforcement, criticized by media, tear gassed and pepper sprayed night after night. Darnell Moore and Patrisse Cullors organized a national ride during Labor Day weekend that year. We called it the Black Lives Matters Ride. In 15 days, we developed a plan or action to head to the occupied territory to support our brothers and sisters. Over 600 people gathered. We made two commitments: to support the team on the ground in St. Louis and to go back home and do the work there. We understood Ferguson was not an aberration, but in fact, a clear point of reference for what was happening to black communities everywhere. When it was time for us to leave, inspired by our friends in Ferguson, organizers from 18 different cities went back home and developed Black Lives Matter chapters in their communities and towns, broadening the political will and movement building, reach catalyzed by the Black Lives Matter project and the work on the ground in Ferguson. It became clear that we needed to continue organizing and building black power across the country. People were hungry to galvanize their communities to end state-sanctioned violence against black people, the way Ferguson organizers and allies were doing. Soon, we created the Black Lives Matter global network infrastructure. It is adaptive and decentralized with a set of guiding principles. Our goal is to support the development of new Black leaders, as well as create a network where Black people feel empowered to determine our destinies in our communities. The Black Lives Matter global network would not be recognized worldwide if it weren't for the folks in St. Louis and Ferguson who put their bodies on the line day in and day out, and who continue to show up for Black lives.
Okay, so now that you know what the movement's about, let's address a couple things. There have been a lot of people talking about this all lives matters. Okay, I need you to stop doing that. Okay, it's counterproductive. It's a broad statement. Okay, if you want to make that argument, okay, I counter argue that argument by saying, all right, so you mean every nationality, right? You mean every nationality. You mean China, you mean Canada, you mean Italy, you mean everywhere. You're not just talking about singling out one country, because you said all lives matter. Remember, that's the broad statement you said. That's the counterproductive statement you said. Okay, instead of realizing, okay, what is the Black Lives Matter movement about? But I know, okay, I'm not going to say I know legitly what it's all about, but what I know it's about. It's about African American people getting shot unarmed by police officers. And it hasn't been any justice for it. Some have, okay, I'll be fair, some have. But only until the screaming cries of other people till they finally listen. But if you watch all these videos that I'm about to show you, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff we can counter argue.
Waiting on you. This is your job. I'm waiting on you. What do you want me to do?
You seem very irritated.
I am. I really am. Because I feel like it's crap for what I'm getting a ticket for. I was getting out of your way. You were speeding up, tailing me. So I move over and you stopped me. So yeah, I am a little irritated, but that doesn't stop you from giving me a ticket. So let's continue.
Are you done?
You asked me what was wrong and I told you.
Okay.
So now I'm done, yeah.
Okay. You mind putting out your cigarette, please? Don't mind.
I'm in my car. Why do I have to put out my cigarette?
Well, you can step on out now.
I don't have to step out of my car.
Step out of the car.
Why am I...
Step out of the car.
No, you don't have the right.
Get out of the car now!
Why am I being apprehended? You trying to give me a ticket for your failure?
Get out of the car.
Why am I being apprehended? You just
I'm
opened
giving
my
you
car
lawful
door.
order.
You just
I'm
opened my
gonna
car
drag you
door.
out of here.
So you threatening to drag me out of my own car.
Get out of the car!
And then you
I
gonna
will
stun
light
me?
you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Wow.
Get out of the
Really,
car!
for a failure to signal. You doing all of this for
Get
a failure
over
to
there.
signal. Right, yeah. Yeah, let's take this to court. Let's do
Go
it.
ahead.
For a failure to signal. Yep, for a failure to signal.
Get off the
On
phone.
my school.
Get off the phone.
I'm not on the phone. I have a right to
Put your
record. This
phone
is my
down.
property. This
Put
is
your
my
phone
property.
down.
Sir?
Put your phone down. Right now.
Sandra Bland. She gets pulled up for a taillight issue. And because the police officer did not like her attitude, let's get real, he decided to escalate the situation. He wanted to show her that he had authority. That's what was happening. This wasn't a de-escalation situation. First off, police officers know not to react, right? Like that, because if that's the way we're supposed to believe you guys are going to react every time you deal with us, then we're going to have a problem, because I worked in customer service for several years and I have never gone up to a customer and mistreated them. And if I did, a manager would correct me on that. I've literally had one incident where somebody complained and I had to be checked on camera to make sure that I was doing my job. Okay? And I was. But they examined it. But police officers, no. I get it. Let's get real. When you get dealing with an attitude, you don't like attitudes. I get that. Police officers are human beings too. You're going to deal with some frustration. But you're going to threaten the woman to get out of her car because you don't like her attitude. You don't really give her like the time to be like, okay, de-escalate. He's like, I'm going to miss, I'm not appreciating your attitude. None of that. Courtesy, try to de-escalate it. No. He just says, I'm going to pull out my taser weapon. After she gets out of that car, she cooperates, she dies. She had no weapon. She only had an attitude. That's not a good enough excuse to kill a human being. It's not a good enough excuse to pull somebody out of the car. And You guys know, if you're a police officer, you guys know that's not how you handle it. That's not how you pull a person out of the car. You don't open the door for them, none of that. You don't do any of that. You know that. That's ridiculous. I've never had a police officer do that to me. So why would they do that to an African American woman? Why? Think about it.
Cleveland Park was worried enough to call the police.
The guy keeps pulling it in out. It's probably fake, but you know what? He's scaring the out.
A patrol car arrives at the scene, and seconds later...
Shots fired. Male down. Black male. Maybe 20. Black revolver, black handgun.
Tamir Rice.
Tamir Rice. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of arguments, controversial, back and forth. Was the gun real? Was the gun not real? Okay, first off, it wasn't. There was a person who called and said, I don't know if the gun is real or not, but he's waving around and scares me. That's it. Okay, that's understandable. It's waving around, you're scared. Okay, I can understand that. That's totally understandable. But he said he doesn't know if the gun is real or not. Okay, now, police officer, the argument's going to be like he was pulling out, it looked like he was trying to pull out a weapon. That's what they're trying to claim. Okay, let's say that was the case. Why is it that the police officers did not create distance? Why were they not enraged? They were in their car. Okay, so why weren't police officers in distance? If they were afraid that this kid had a gun, why not, approach him with the gun unholstered and be like, hey, we're hearing that you have a weapon. We're going to need to see your hands. All that stuff. You could have done anything like that. There's so many ways. I know we could have gone away about it, but instead these police officers drive on up and shoot the kid. Okay, first off, he didn't even pull it out yet. So, automatic, it's either him or you. First off, he's got to be able to pull it out and be able to point it before he can even shoot it if it was a real gun. So, you already have control. You are two officers. You could have created range. You guys could have been farther away. You guys could have you could have done little speakers saying, hey, we're going to need to see your hands. We're going to need to see your hands. All right, on your knees, put your hands behind your back. All that. There's so many scenarios. There's no argument here that makes sense that this child who's 12 should have gotten killed. No matter what situation you are, if there is two police officers pin you down and they have you pretty much on a grip, both very big guys, very strong enough to hold a man like that down, even with a weapon, it doesn't make any sense to shoot, even though you already have him detained. Pretty much you have him pushed down, you have him left there. There's no reason to be freaking out or worrying that he's going to kill you, because you guys are already having the control of the situation. You both have him. So it didn't make any sense.
Well, sir. Good. How are you? Good. The reason I pulled you over, your brake lights are out. So you only have one active brake light, and that's going to be your passenger side one. Your third brake light, which is up here on top, and then this one back here, is going to be out. You have your license and insurance?
I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out.
I'm not pulling it out.
Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out! Don't move! Don't move! Don't move! Code 3! Get the baby girl out of here! Don't move! 6921, get back here, code 3! Shots fired! Medics, code 3!
We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back. And the police, he's fired. They took my license. He's carried the license to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out, his let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for the wallet. And the officer just shot him in his arm. Ma'am, just keep your hands where they are.
Falon Castile. I think I'm saying it right. I hope I'm saying it right. Castile. I'm hoping I'm saying it right. This one was interesting the most. When I watched this, I was in shock because I watched the footage of the wife when she was crying in agonizing pain as she's witnessing her man bleeding to death. Now, in the beginning, it's just about a tail light. It's about a light. Who cares? Officer tells him, I need to see your license and registration. Okay, before he gives him his license and registration, he tells the officer he has a weapon. Now, he has the actual paperwork for that weapon, so he's legally permitted to have that weapon. Hey, it sounds like all American fairness, right? You guys would say that's the American way. Second Amendment right. Carrying a firearm. No big deal, right? You shouldn't get shot for something like that. The officer assumes that the man is reaching for his gun, even though he just told them about it. Instead, realizing that he was reaching for his license and registration. Not realizing that, and he shoots him. Dead. Well, not dead. He was bleeding out. My apologies. This is racism. This is what it looks like. There are good police officers out there, but there are also bad ones. We cannot deny that stuff anymore because we're kidding ourselves if we believe truthfully that every police officer is doing the just noble thing. No, they have each other's back. It's a brotherhood, just like if you were in combat. Some people did some really bad stuff in Vietnam. We can say all we want about denying it, but believe it, some soldiers were nasty. They did some bad things, some horrible things to Vietnamese people, okay? So you have to be real with the grittiness of stuff, okay? I understand that you're going to say, well, there was because they were mad. And it doesn't matter. We have to be better, and we weren't. We were savages that way. And that's the same concept now. We're letting our justice system act like it's perfect. It's not. And that's what we need to address. That's what African American people are addressing. How do we fix this situation? Well, that's the very important issue in this now, isn't it? I'm going to actually show or explain in the next episode what we should do, because I don't want to take too long on this video. I want to be able to put as much video footage as I can about this. But on the next one, I'm going to explain what I think we could do to prevent a lot more of African Americans being shot for no particular reason.